For those of you who are still wondering why Georges St-Pierre is the best MMA fighter ever, you should know the fact that St-Pierre has spectacular knockout power, star power, controversy, drama, and much more besides. For the first time in UFC history, 3 times holding the championship belt. And if there is a question about who is a better fighter than Khabib, who is more famous than Conor McGregor, who is the fighter who can beat Jon Jones, living legend Anderson Silva, Demetrious Johnson, and other great fighters, the answer is one name: Georges St-Pierre. And here are 5 facts about the greatness of Georges St-Pierre. Champ. In UFC history, only 4 fighters have been able to win championships in 2 divisions simultaneously. The 4 names are Randy Couture in light heavyweight and heavyweight, BJ Penn in lightweight and welterweight, Conor McGregor at featherweight and lightweight, and of course Georges St-Pierre at welterweight and middleweight. Maybe outside the UFC there is the name Dan Henderson, but he wasn't able to win a championship in the UFC. It's undeniable that the record is the only thing seen to judge a fighter. However, Georges St-Pierre was able to surpass all lists of holders of 2 belts. Especially Georges St-Pierre had also beaten BJ Penn twice, and we know that BJ Penn was also included in the list of holders of 2 belts. Avenging all losses. Georges St-Pierre left a 26-2 mark throughout his career. The number 2 comes from Matt Hughes and Matt Serra. It could be said that Georges St-Pierre was not very familiar with the word bitter and lose, but that doesn't mean St-Pierre never loses. It's just that losing is a rare word for St-Pierre. St-Pierre suffered a loss for the first time against Matt Hughes in 2004 for the vacant welterweight title. However, St-Pierre was able to reply at UFC 65 and UFC 79. The second defeat came from Matt Serra, who at that time appeared as an underdog, who wanted to win the new championship belt held by St-Pierre. At UFC 69, Matt Serra surprisingly managed to win the match via technical knockout in the first round. The following year, St-Pierre avenged that defeat when they met at UFC 83. The conclusion is, if you have the name Matt, you can beat Georges St-Pierre, but never fight twice. One of the biggest UFC pay-per-view box offices. Pay-per-view can be a benchmark for how famous a fighter is, and it also greatly affects how much money a fighter will get. The list of the biggest pay-per-view UFC box office includes several names including Conor McGregor, Ronda Rousey, Brock Lesnar, Jon Jones, Anderson Silva, and of course Georges St-Pierre. Conor McGregor undeniably has the highest PPV price in history, but although not the biggest, Georges St-Pierre makes this list. Ronda Rousey was also spectacular, but after 2 losses she never returned to the octagon. While Brock Lesnar is a box office magnet and the dream of all promoters, he is not the best fighter. Jon Jones and Anderson Silva are really Georges St-Pierre's about the best fighters and longevity in the fight, but they once had doping controversies. Moreover, Jon Jones with his attitude outside the octagon has been well documented. The perfect GOAT. One of the advantages of Georges St-Pierre is his ultra-professionalism. Some of the stellar and greatest of all time names might include names like Jon Jones and Anderson Silva. But unfortunately their names were slightly tarnished by the suspension related to the alleged doping case. On the other hand, the era of Georges St-Pierre may pass the era of trash talk pioneered by Conor McGregor. If anything, it may be in his last fight against Michael Bisping. But for sure, St-Pierre can win the championship belt he wants. Georges St-Pierre managed to become the greatest fighter of all time, with an elegant and perfect way. Although St-Pierre had experienced setbacks, Georges St-Pierre bounced back completely. The caliber of the opponents he has. Georges St-Pierre has dominated big names like Matt Hughes, BJ Penn, Nick Diaz, Johnny Hendricks, Josh Koscheck, Sean Sherk, Matt Serra, Carlos Condit, Jason Miller, and of course Michael Bisping. Georges St-Pierre has found a way to beat every challenger in the UFC welterweight division. Thanks to hard work and dedication, Georges St-Pierre was able to glue all the greatness into one to become what it is today. Even after he was out for 4 years, he was able to win the fight again against the great Michael Bisping and win the world title. While USADA came in with a lot of concerns about doping in sport, Georges St-Pierre left the UFC on good terms and really on top. Without a doubt, Georges St-Pierre is the greatest fighter of all time. Well guys, those are 5 facts about Georges St-Pierre's greatness at the UFC. If you think there are other fighters who are better than Georges St-Pierre, please leave your comments below and like the video. Thanks for watching and see you in another video.